Hello, I am Donnie, and I am the cute one.
And I'm Chelsea, and I am the cute one.
TGIF, cuties.
TGIF.
Dun-dun. Later on, we'll be joined by Madison Sinclair to talk about some of the week's hottest headlines. But before she joins us, we're just going to hit you with our good old-fashioned each other talk.
Our good old-fashioned each other talk. Now, Donnie, my brain is broken, not quite in the just straight-up depressed way of last week, but
Right.
I am not being facetious. I am not exaggerating when I tell you that my daughters have not been to 5 straight days of school since November. We had winter break, then we had the snow days, then randomly this week we had 2 half days and a day off on Friday. No one knows why. And now I just looked at the forecast and we're supposed to get another snowstorm next week. So God bless America.
My Jesus.
I know.
Which, you may recall, I've been going to church. So I really mean it. My Jesus.
Jesus loves you.
This I know. I never really understood why parents would do this, but the more I see your daughter's school schedule, maybe a boarding school is the way to go.
Well, funny you should say that. My oldest daughter has been begging to be shipped off to boarding school. I'm about to sit her down and make her watch that Paris Hilton documentary. But it's because I realized all of the kids' shows like Monster High, Harry Potter, like they're all away at boarding school.
Yeah.
So she has this idea that she's going to like go to boarding school and then become like half dragon and learn magical skills. And I'm like, no, usually it's just a lot of wilderness camps and snooty people.
Yeah. The only special skill you'll get is how to be a bitch and tie a knot.
But speaking of being a bitch.
Yeah, tell me.
As I've said, we've been trapped in the house for a very long time now. So we're creating our own fun. We're at the pure chaos phase of this time together. I see those eyes. The chaos is there already, but we've reached a new level.
Well, that's what I'm afraid of. If you are describing something as pure chaos, I want to know what level we've exactly reached. Because as someone who visits for 48 hours at a time, I would say we're kind of there at all times.
As someone who visits for 48 hours and needs an IV drip at hour 12, we've circled back to the prank wars
of
the Halloween season. You may recall that I did look my daughter in the face in October and said, you won't know when and you won't know where, but by the end of the night, you'll be afraid. So she came up to me. I was laying in bed reading the other night, and she came up to me and she repeated those words of wisdom to me, that I won't know when and I won't know where, but by the end of the night, I'll be afraid. But the problem with my oldest daughter is what she has in creativity and chutzpah and a can-do attitude, she lacks in subtlety. So she immediately dropped to her knees and crawled under my bed.
In front of you?
In front of me. Because you may recall the last time we did that, I did hide under her bed for 45 minutes to scare her. So she wanted to repeat the action. On the YouTube, I'm going to post a picture of what this looked like, because not only did she drop and crawl under in front of me, but she did just leave her entire lower body hanging out from beneath my bed. So I knew she was there. And I waited. And about 20 minutes later, as she's giggling under my bed, I see those little feet start moving and I see she's about to pop out and scare me. And so I did wait. And as she's about to put her head up to yell, I went, ah! The shriek that came out of this girl. We both laughed for like 30 minutes afterwards, but like she was so taken aback and surprised. And then she looked at me and she said, Mommy, you are a witch. How did you know?
And she forgot you were up there too?
No, she was coming out to scare me. Like she had waited for 20 minutes for me to just go back to reading so that she could pop out and scare me. She didn't realize I'd been staring at her feet for 20 minutes waiting for this moment. So I scared her before she could scare me. Now, the poor youngest daughter, who made it very clear she wanted no part of these prank wars, she was just in her room, but she heard the screams. And then in the background, I just heard her go, ah! So she did catch some strays. But so to answer your former question of what level of chaos we've reached, that level.
Okay, that's a good level.
But like I said, another snowstorm coming. So
I can't wait to see where we can get.
The pits of hell. How was your week?
My last week was good. I do want to talk about this week coming up because the next time you see me, cuties, I'll be a tattooed man.
Tat it up.
By the time you're listening to this, I'm going under right now, getting the needle. So that's exciting. But that's not what you asked. You asked how my week was, so I'll tell you. I am so excited to talk to my therapist. We're recording this on Wednesday. I talked to her Thursday. And I feel like I've been waiting every single day for 2 years to speak to this woman, because every day is a new adventure for me this past week, and I am so proud of myself. I said a couple months ago that I felt like it was a season finale. Like, there were all these big things in work, at home, in friendships that felt like a big explosive finale. Fights were on the horizon, all this stuff. I feel like this week is the season premiere, where like we're going in with new starts, and like everyone's at a different place than they were in the season finale, and it is just so crazy to me that it's all aligning at one time.
It's raining men.
Truly
Hallelujah,
is.
it's raining men.
Truly is. I went on a date last week. I have 2 scheduled this week, and then
Shout out Hinge really quick, because I really do think you should have a partnership with them, because the way you have been texting me about Hinge, I keep wanting to be like, is this promotional content? Am I going to have to get like a hashtag ad disclosure in this text chain? You love Hinge.
I do love Hinge. I love that you can be honest about what you are looking for. And like, it lets you be very specific. Like, even options for like, I'm looking for a long-term relationship, but would be okay with a short-term relationship, and vice versa. Like, you can truly write whatever you are looking for. There's also a section, which I have not filled out yet. This is something I'll talk about with Macy Gray. There is a part, and I feel like this is important for gays, but maybe everybody, straights would like this feature too, where you can record a voice message for an answer too. Like, just pick one prompt in your profile that you record as a voice message. This way no one's shocked by your voice. And that is something, my voice is still something I don't like about myself. So we will get to that voice prompt eventually, but we're not there yet.
Why don't you just record you singing Elphaba's part at the end of Defying Gravity?
Well, unfortunately, I think why I like Hinge is because I'm doing so well on it. And I think that if I did that, suddenly I wouldn't like Hinge anymore.
Okay.
Again, I don't want to give too many details, but I did go on one date and I was fully myself in a way that I don't remember ever being on a first date before. Like, we talked about Wicked. We talked about me seeing High School Musical 13 times in theaters. We talked about my Wicked tattoo. We talked about Vanessa Hudgens' sneaker night. We talked about my divorce. We talked about all kinds of things. And normally, I feel like when I go out, I have to choose between, and I might have talked about this on the podcast before. If not, I talked about it in therapy. Being in front of this computer all blends together. But I feel like when I go out, I have to choose between, is Donnie going out to have fun, or is Donnie going out to get dick? Because they're 2 different people. If Donnie's going out to have fun, he can be in the center of the dance floor, rolling his shirt up like a tube top and having fun. If Donnie wants to get dick, then he needs to stand with no personality against the wall and just sip his drink until someone approaches him. But that Donnie doesn't have fun until he's getting dick. And the other Donnie that's having fun doesn't get dick.
Which is so wild to me. And I know, obviously, like, there are reasons why you feel this way. But, like, I feel like the best part of your personality is you dancing in the center of the dance floor with your tube top. I feel like you have such a gravitational pull. Like, people want to be around you when you're chaotic, grinding to sneaker night.
All the women in my life feel that way, Chelsea. Unfortunately, you don't have wieners. So the wiener holding community, unfortunately, is not drawn to that energy. But I felt like I was being crazy old Maurice at that first date, and I got a kiss out of it. So we're doing something. Now, also, I don't know what it was, but I also went to my eye doctor, which that's a plus in itself.
I can't wait to hear this segue. Maybe it was getting a smooch, but I saw my eye doctor.
I did.
Nothing sexier than that puff of air right in the eye that you can't stop blinking for. They have to do it 16 times until your eyes are crying, and then they say, never mind, you got 2 astigmatism. Here's your contact.
They only had to do it 3 times, actually. But then they also did another test. It was very America's Next Top Model. You have to put your eye sideways on the thing. Did you ever have to do that?
I have to do all the tests.
I couldn't find it at all. I told him, I was like, just grab my head and put me where it needs to be, which...
Yada, 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 yada.
Grab my head and put it where it needs to be. Can you close that door?
I swear to beans, that man, he's got an ear to the door sometimes.
Why is this door open? Be right back.
A few moments later.
So I went to the eye doctor.
Are you going to whisper the rest of this episode? I went to the eye doctor.
Maybe for this story.
ASMR.
In fact, I'll just type it and then you can put it.
Yeah.
So I went to the eye doctor, and after I said, grab my head and put it wherever you want it, that guy was very cute. That gave me the eye test and did the paperwork, whatever. So then I said, I don't know if this is inappropriate or not to give this man my number, but we're going to risk it. So I put my number on this little paper I had in my wallet.
This feels like we're doing something bad, Don.
I know.
I need like a blanket to put around me. Like
I feel like we're in the storage room. Oh, the sleepover makes sense too. I feel like we're in the storage room in the Big Brother house.
Oh, yeah.
So then I gave him my number. I said, if this is inappropriate, lose it. If it's not, use it. And then, because here's the thing. I didn't know if it was inappropriate, but closed mouths don't get blown or whatever the saying is.
Whatever the saying is, close. You know that I think it was Dr. Seuss who said, closed mouths don't get blown.
So then I left. Okay?
I like that you used a rhyme. Speaking of Dr. Seuss.
It was
use
slick,
it or lose it.
right?
The next time you're going to say, click it or ticket, baby.
You can put it on a billboard. So then I left, okay? I left and was walking to work. And then when I was about a block away, I got a phone call from a number I didn't know. And I answered. And it was this man. And he said, hey, it's whatever his name was. Hey, it's John from the eye doctor. And I said, already? And he said, I realized I didn't charge you for the eye appointment. Can you come back? And I said, sure. So $800 later, I still don't have a real phone call from him. But
You said, let me give you that expiration date and CVC number on the back.
so that was that.
Well, you put yourself out there. Love to see it.
Yeah, and that's pretty much my week.
It was very eventful.
It was, for both of us.
We really are living very different lives. So I hope that there's a little something for every listener out there.
Yeah, nice hodgepodge.
Are you terrorizing your children, or are you terrorizing people just trying to do their job at the eye doctors?
You can blow more than my eye, buddy. So, cuties, we're on YouTube. You know, go over there, like, subscribe, click it or ticket. And we're going to take a short break. And when we return, we'll be back with Madison Sinclair to talk about this week's hottest headlines. And probably some other bullshit, too. And we are back with Madison Sinclair, stand-up comic and owner of The Bummer Shop. Hey, Madison.
Hey, how are you?
Wonderful. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much for coming.
Of course.
I, first of all, love following you. You're one of my favorite follows. But you are so funny. But more importantly, you are good at doing sponsored content. Because I was enthralled by the who pooped on my pillow mystery that was unfolding. And it literally took me till the end that I was like, my God, what a brilliant woman. That is an ad for dog food. Incredible.
Well, I'm just grateful that Jinx lets me make fun content because I've worked with companies before like Afrin, and I made like a really fun, weird video for them. And then they just noted it to death and they just want it to be just a, hey, you know what I really love? And no one watches that.
Yeah.
I'm shocked every week that we still have sponsors because they always give us like the halfway point. They're like, tell a story about when you were at the grocery store. And I don't think the stories that I tell are the kinds they mean.
But I do have to ask before we get into this week's hottest headlines, is Monkey still in jail as we speak?
She escaped.
Thank God.
I miss her so much. I got her as a gift for my mom for Christmas a couple years ago, and it's the one dog that I was like, I want to bring her home. Like I know it was a gift, but she's so sweet. Got her on Craigslist.
Wait, you got her where? On Craigslist?
Yeah, she was like, this veteran was going through a divorce, and he was like, I can't have her anymore. She keeps escaping and going into the cow fields, and we're afraid she's going to get stomped. Such a
God.
rural problem because we were in Orlando. It's in Polk County. So I was like, okay, I'll take her. We took her. She's like 2, and she reeked of cigarettes. And
Monkey.
she's like put on some weight
And just down to 1 pack a day.
yeah.
It's good to know that there are valid things you can still get on Craigslist. When I first moved to New York, I had Sex with Strangers on there, but I just thought those days were over. I mean, those days are over, but I didn't know you could still find real things.
You can still find dogs, apparently.
Apparently.
Well, let's jump into this week's headlines. So this week brought us a new Mason Gooding movie, Olivia Rodrigo and Sabrina Carpenter hugging,
Thank
a
God.
Megan 2.0 teaser trailer, Amelia Perez being taken out of the Oscars campaign trail, and a new hit by Lady Gaga.
Something for
week.
everybody, yeah. I want to talk about none of those things. So I want to talk about the Grammys. Did you watch
It was
it?
a drag show. So I did a half stand-up, half drag show. And I was like, I don't know where they found a room full of gay people that didn't want to watch the Grammys. I just had to get updates in real time.
That's all I did, Madison, too. I talked about watching it, but I didn't watch it. All I did was watch the performances afterwards and then read about who was winning. And who won was Beyonce Knowles. Finally, after 25 years, her time has come. But this is where it makes me feel like an old piece of shit because people were tweeting or Xing or whatever you want to call it and saying, like, they mentioned Beyonce was in a girl group. Yes. Yes, they did.
One thing about the children is they really need to learn their history. Like, we are failing our children in this country. The education department, you know what? Maybe Trump's right. Maybe we need a revamp if we're not learning about Destiny's Child
I feel like
here.
that's the one out of the year, though. I was disappointed about that.
I would have been fine with Brat as well. As long as, and I am a
No,
Swiftie.
every
I'm going to
week-
say it. I'm
every
going to say it.
week-
I am a Swiftie. But
You have a death wish. Every week you come in here and you play it fast and loose. And every week I say, Swifties, please spare me, kill him.
My girlfriend's a huge Swiftie, and I can't even mention any kind of criticism. I can't even say, I don't like this song. I don't like this album. I can't say anything, or else she will get actually upset. Like she's best friends with Taylor.
so then, Madison, I'll say I didn't like the Tortured Poets Society, and you can just blink if you agree.
My Paxil prescription isn't strong enough for me to listen to that every day.
No. And then, if Beyonce's Cowboy Carter win wasn't enough for me, they also announced that she's going on tour. So I do want to go off the tracks for a little bit. I said we're
Great.
going to talk about headlines, but we're not. What we're going to talk about, can you please help me? Since I have two wonderful women on the podcast with me right now, can we talk about what I should wear to the Cowboy Carter concert? I do know I want to wear assless chaps, but besides that, the sky's the limit.
I mean, obviously a cowboy hat.
Yeah, for sure. In my vision, a cowboy hat and spurs. I don't know what I'll need them for. I don't even
I
know
love
what
the
they're
idea,
really
though,
used
of you wearing Spurs, but like with regular shoes.
for. With high top.
Yeah, just Spurs with a casual loafer.
That's cute. Because I also want to wear a bolo tie, but with no shirt. Just a bolo tie and a vest.
So what we have is assless chaps, Spurs with no cowboy boots, a bolo tie with no shirt, and a vest.
Will I get kicked out?
For the Spurs?
We're like, that's a weapon.
Did you ever play that old computer game back in the 90s where it was like the game of life, I think, but it was like for the original like PC, but then if you ran out of money, you had to wear a barrel around yourself?
No.
It may have been a fever dream. I'm not sure. But so far, this look that we've put together is very reminiscent of just a barrel with straps.
I could just wear that too. I feel like anything in an old time photo would be perfect. Chelsea just showed you a teaser of it, Madison. But one thing she's good at is making up things that are completely fake, that nobody knows what she's talking about.
At least one listener knows what I'm talking about. Leave a 5-star review and let me know.
I vaguely remember someone wearing a barrel in a game, but I also don't remember my childhood.
That's fair. So, unreliable narrator is what I'm hearing, Chelsea, because if we don't know the title of the game, that means it's fake.
Who knows?
Moving on, Kendrick Lamar, I want to talk about this as well. He won 5 Grammys for his album, which was just a diss track of Drake. So I was thinking, who would I roast that I would get an award for? Like, who do I hate? Who could I talk shit about that I would win an award for? And I think I could write an album about Anya Taylor-Joy and her eyes that are separated too far.
Donnie, I beg of you. I beg of you.
I have been getting bullied by her fans for months now.
Her fans?
Yes.
She has fans?
She has a huge stan army that I was unaware of. I made a joke about, because, you know, when she's in the menu and she goes, I guess my eyes are a little bigger than my stomach. And then I just stitched it. I said, if you're blind, that's what she looks like. That's all I said. She has big eyes. Is that not the beauty standard, having big eyes and a small waist? Like, I don't understand. People act like I said she's hideous. And every time I get a new insult to my appearance that I was completely unaware of, people will be like, bitch, you're balding.
Well, wait till they get a hold of Donnie, because if they're thinking you're balding, wait till they see this bitch.
Also, if they think what you said about her is bad, I truly talk shit on her every week.
Really? What don't you like about her? Just her proportions?
Yeah, it looks like someone made a sim and just stretched it too much.
I would like my silence to be noted. So once again for the Swifties, and now for the Anya Taylor-Joy
Joyans.
fans.
Yeah.
Please leave me alone.
Well, you still didn't answer my question.
You didn't ask a question. You stated who you would have a diss track. Did you also want to loop us in, Donnie?
Yeah, this is a conversation. You're not at my TED Talk. Who would you roast on an album that you think you could win a Grammy about?
Well, you know that I do have a fluid nemesis list that I update each morning. I sit down, I have my cup of coffee, I write my gratitude list, and then I update my nemesis list. And I gotta tell you, Craig Conover from Southern Charm, he's having a resurgence. I love the Craig and Paige discourse of their breakup. Do you watch any Bravo, Madison?
No, I don't.
Okay, so I'm speaking in a different language for you, so I'll keep it brief because also Donnie famously hates Bravo too. So once again, just me talking about things I like to people who don't care. But they are from 2 different reality shows on Bravo, and they were like Bravo's darlings. That then we had like a TGIF crossover event that they started dating each other and then appearing on each other's shows. Well, Paige has broken up with Craig. I could do a dissertation on like the expectations of men and women in society, because at first she was nothing but like complimentary of Craig, super respectful for his privacy, all these things. And then he goes and plays the victim, gets all these Bravo fans all worked up, pushes them in the direction of Paige's comment section. And little by little, each week on her podcast, she starts getting a little more petty. And there's nothing more I love in this world than a petty bitch. And I just can't wait for her to just drag him for filth inevitably in like 6 weeks. So I'd like to help her out. I could do like an intro to her inevitable blow up by writing a diss track about Craig, I don't believe in vaccines, Conover. Craig, I went live with Tommy Lahren on Instagram, Conover. Craig, what's wrong with my sewing, Conover? Fuck you, Craig.
Let Paige make the album, and you could be like Dolly Parton on Cowboy Carter. You'd be like, hey, Paige.
I feel like if I did one, it would be someone so obscure. Like there's this kid, Alexander Ronzino, who terrorized me all through school. I was the first person to leave during 9/11 from school. And when I came back the next day, he had told everyone I left to get a spray tan. But everyone found out about 9/11. So then they like accused me of not being a real American. Like I went and got a spray tan after 9/11.
I would argue there's nothing more American than getting a spray tan on 9/11.
Yeah.
But fuck that guy.
I feel like it would be about something so obscure.
No, I think that's a perfect album. But please continue. But I would buy that.
I'm enthralled.
Yeah. If I was a Grammy voter,
He would lick his elbow all the time too, and I hated it.
that's track number 3 for sure. Elbow liquor.
And in high school, I like knew this kid my entire like upbringing. He could do a Daniel Tosh impersonation.
Ugh. Even Daniel Tosh doesn't want to be Daniel Tosh.
And then people liked it, so he stuck with it in morning announcements as Daniel Tosh.
Oh no.
Then it just became who he was.
That happened to one of my brother's friends. He used to do an Eric Cartman impression all the time until it just became his voice. And to this day, when I run into this guy, I'll see him at like 7-Eleven and I'm like, oh, hey. And he's like, hey, fuck you, Kyle. Like, that's just how he talks now. It's the most unfortunate thing.
Disgusting.
It's like when you're a kid and they're like, oh, if you do that face, it might stick that way.
Yeah.
Do that Eric Cartman impression.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
Don't impersonate Daniel Tosh. I look forward to speaking of Taylor Swift, just do a full Taylor Swift 24 songs and then just keep re-releasing those 24 songs every time someone else tries to climb the charts.
Yeah, and then we tried to be friends in college, and I stayed over at his place because his parents' house, because we obviously grew up next to each other because we went to school together, and we were going to go out, and we went out to like some bar or everything, and like when I came back, we all like crashed at his place, and I had my period, and I guess I got a little spot of blood on his bed.
Oh no.
And he told everyone, and he said, I can't be friends with you anymore.
What?
Having my period.
Is this real?
See, that's the kind of motherfucker that rats Eve out to Jesus or whatever for eating that apple. How dare you be mad a woman had her period?
I was like in leggings and everything. It's not like I was like, it's like I knew.
Which I do that sometimes, Madison. I'm not doing it now. You don't have to call HR, but I do love a good Winnie the Pooh moment.
I thought that okay.
What?
It took me a minute. I did arrive to the Pooh Bear, but when you said I do love to do that, I was like, what? Get your period on someone's bed on purpose? Although you were famously an owner of a Diva Cup in college. So.
I did love a good Diva Cup. Now, I don't have a vagina, cuties, if you are wondering. So I use the Diva Cup as a shot glass.
That's feminine.
Yeah, thank you. I thought so. Where's my pussy hat?
Yeah, one thing about Donnie, he's a feminist icon. The fact that this man followed you and terrorized you through every stage of life.
I also love that you're America's sweetheart because we asked you to write diss tracks and you only told us about the elbow licking. Everything else was him shit talking you. So that's kind of his diss track, I think.
You don't need to write it because he insults himself by existing.
I beat the shit out of him when I was 5th grade, though, because he was making fun of I had a really bad speech impediment. Like my R's sounded like W's. And he was making fun of my speech impediment. And I had a Good Charlotte lunchbox. And I just started beating the shit out of him.
Like prison. That's incredible.
What's his name again? His full government name?
Alexander Ronzino.
Fuck you.
Such a specific name. There's probably only 2 of them in the world.
I know. He probably like works timeshare or something. He's like a very normal guy. I'm just
He's certainly not visiting the tampon section of CVS, I'll tell you that.
And that's all we got for the Grammys. Chelsea, what do you have?
Great. Well, we're so glad to have covered the Grammys. I hope you got what you needed out of that one, cuties. Now, I have been tickled all day to talk about this headline. It has weirdly been all over my algorithm. I feel like everybody's talking about this, but the BBC has reported that there is a New Zealand goose who is a blind bisexual bird who is a gay icon.
Do you have the article on you, Chelsea?
Yeah, I'm reading it. I'm about to read it.
Can you look at the year? Because I saw this on my timeline as well. But then when I saw that it was from 2018.
February 17th, 2018. Yeah. Well, why the fuck is it going viral then in Beyonce's year 2025? Yeah, it is from February 17th, 2018. Always bringing you the hottest hitting headlines, cuties.
Oh my God. Well, this is what's viral on mine. I did see that. That is going viral. I saw people post about that. But then also, I want to talk about this really quick while I have the floor. On Facebook, I saw this toy from Aldi, the grocery store. They sell toys. And there is one of a dog. It's like a dog pillow, but then there's a pouch like a kangaroo. And out of the pouch, they have a picture of a bone sticking out. You see like the stick with the 2 little things, but it looks like it looks like a dick. A dog with a dick.
Thank you for taking the floor to share this with us. If you're watching on YouTube, here's the dog with the dick.
Oh, I do have an update on the swan. It's dead.
It's dead? Well, Madison's come through with some actual hard-hitting news. The goose died. Oh, yeah. The goose died at almost 40 years old and is being buried beside his partner. Well, record scratch. I bet you're wondering how we got here. Let's back it up to the year 2018.
Wait, he's 45 years old?
40. That's
Can't be right.
It is 40 years old.
Alexa, what's the life expectancy of a goose?
She's going to say, water the snake plant. That's a callback for our
10 to
Patreon
22
movies.
years, Chelsea.
Telling me this goose lived through the AIDS crisis? It's crazy.
This is saying that this goose died at 40 years old. So I don't know. This is the BBC reporting. You can take it up with the UK. Now, Thomas the goose was part of a love triangle starting in the year 1990 with a black swan named Henrietta. I want everybody to gather around. This is some passions plot that's about to happen with Thomas the goose. So after 18 blissful years together, a new young female swan entered the equation and was often spotted with Henrietta, who you may recall was Thomas's boo. No one thought much of it, as they were both females, but a shock came when the new swan laid an egg, and it turned out that Henrietta was actually a male. Now, Henrietta was given a new name, Henry, and the new swan was given the name Henrietta. Why? Of all the names, why?
I'm so lost. Continue.
Okay. So Thomas the goose, who had been with the first Henrietta, now Henry, was obviously pissed because Henry has now gone on to have eggs with the new Henrietta. So he got really aggressive and started beating the swans up. But once the eggs hatched, he changed his demeanor completely and took to the babies like they were his own. So then Henry and Henrietta went on to have 68 more babies together, and Thomas the goose, our gay icon, stuck around to help them raise them. Amazing. Now, here's where the bisexuality comes in. Thomas went on to meet a female goose, and for the first time, he had his own biological children. But his
Oh my
stint as
God.
a father was short-lived, as his babies were stolen by another goose, who then raised the babies himself.
Stolen by a man goose?
Yes. And according to experts, it's not uncommon for geese to be bisexual.
Huh.
The end. What do we have to say about this tale?
It felt like someone explaining board game instructions to me at a certain point. I was like, wait.
Not me. I would have understood if it was a
Because
board
Donnie
game.
is the explainer.
I love explaining a convoluted 18-page game. This, however, I did get lost in the first sentence. If this was an episode of Queens, I would have been all in, narrated by Angela Bassett. But there's just too many parts.
My grandma had a chicken. I guess it was either trans or just like started getting very masked, and it started going first.
Whoa.
Yeah, if it's two females, they'll have a gay partnership. One of them takes on more of a masculine role, and they can transition like in the middle of their
Now,
adult
I
life.
don't want to give the plot away for a movie that I'm going to torture Donnie with in a couple years, Biosphere, featuring Mark Duplass and Sterling K. Brown. But we'll circle back to this chicken tale after we watch that movie. Well, now it's time for the Cutie of the Week. So, Madison, do you have anybody you want to crown Cutie of the Week?
Suzette, she runs a drag space in Sacramento. She had such an amazing show for me, and she was incredible. The show was so much fun. Sometimes comedy shows get boring because it's just like stand up, stand up, stand up. To be able to like mix it up with these amazing drag performers, and I've never been to Sacramento in my life. It's some of the best drag that I've seen. And so Suzette for running that and also introducing comedy into that space. Like I know there's already comedy queens, but there were all these like cis straight comedians that were doing these shows and maybe like wouldn't be in a drag space normally, but male comedians are so desperate for stage time that they will do that. And I think it opens their worldview too. And also just like understanding drag better. And it was very interesting too to see there was this one guy who's on the lineup, straight cis guy. He does a show where two people do stand up and two drag queens do drag, and then you switch, and then two drag queens do stand up, and then two stand ups do drag.
Oh,
Oh,
cool.
cool.
He loves it. And then from there, he learned that he loves to dress like a woman. And then he said that he had a joke that I am still laughing about how he said that his girlfriend recently broke up with him because she caught him cross-dressing. He's like, so that was it. We broke up. He goes, and he's like, so I just left it, packed all of our things, and I got out of there.
I will go next because mine is very aligned with yours in terms of drag queens and introducing drag to a new audience, because Donnie's going to make fun of me, but Dimension 20 has brought back their Dungeons and Drag Queens segment. I am loving it. And Cuties, if you are not familiar with Dungeons and Dragons, I suggest starting from season 1 because we kind of like learned along with the drag queens, but it is so funny. It is so like heartfelt. It's just what we need in this time where we look around and everything is a dumpster.
How dare you think that I would judge you for that? You know I like Dungeons and Dragons.
I always have to like conceptualize the art of your judgment because I forget that at the top layer of your personality, you are Jigsaw from Saw, where you will make people play games whether they want to or not.
And I'm right in line with all of this as well. Madison, you started a trend here. My Cutie of the Week is Gays Everywhere because Hulu announced that a Buffy reboot is coming soon, starring Sarah Michelle Gellar again in the role. So I'm thrilled. I know other gay 90s babies are thrilled.
It's cute to call yourself a 90s baby, but I'll let that one slide.
Are you not a baby when you're 4 years old?
I'm just a little baby.
And that is it. Cuties, thank you for listening. Madison, before we let you go, do you have any shows coming up that you want to promote or just let people know where they can find you?
Oh, I'm doing a show in Bellflower on February 7th. And then the Bummer Shop, I sell booty shorts. We raise money for women clinics in Florida that are under attack right now. So if you get a pair that says abortion is safer than Tylenol or women's bodies are more regulated than guns, those profits go immediately to help women get out-of-state abortions and also keep the clinics that we do have available. So go to thebummershop.com and then also Madison Sinclair on Instagram.
It is so rare. We don't have guests often because it is very rare that we find somebody that can kind of just jump into this circus animal party that we've got going on. But as soon as I started following you on Instagram, I was like, we've got one. So thank you so much for coming on and proving me right and for joining us.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. We'll talk to you later. Love you like a sister. Bye.
Bye.